Hey, football fans, welcome back to the channel. If you thought Saturday's college football playoff action was going to be close and competitive, well, Penn State had other plans. The Nittany Lions took a 38-10 blowout victory over number 11 SMU. And let's just say, it was all about defense in this one. SMU's offense never had a chance. So, grab your snacks and get comfy because we're diving into all the action from this game, including 2 pick-6s that sealed the deal for Penn State and sent them to the Fiesta Bowl to face Boise State. Before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future breakdowns. Let's jump right in. Penn State's dominant defense sets the tone. From the very start, it was clear that SMU was in trouble. Penn State's defense came out like a storm, and SMU QB Kevin Jennings had no time to relax in the pocket. In fact, it took less than a quarter for the Nittany Lions to get on the board, courtesy of Dominic DeLuca, who picked off Jennings and returned it 23 yards for a touchdown. Penn State was up 7-0, and the Mustangs were already on their heels. But wait, it gets worse for SMU. Just 8 minutes later, Rojas intercepted another errant Jennings throw, taking it back 59 yards for a touchdown. In the blink of an eye, it was 14-0. And SMU had dug itself into a hole it couldn't climb out of. But don't worry, Penn State wasn't finished with their defensive clinic just yet. Even when SMU managed to get to the Penn State 7-yard line in the second quarter, disaster struck. Jennings tried to sneak a pass over DeLuca's head. But guess what? DeLuca was there again, picking off the pass and setting up Kaytron Allen's 25-yard touchdown run on the very next drive. By the time Singleton ran it in for another touchdown in the second quarter, it was clear that SMU didn't stand a chance. The Nittany Lions were cruising to victory, up by 4 touchdowns at halftime. SMU's struggles, turnovers and missed opportunities. Now, it wasn't like SMU didn't have a shot at getting back into this one, they just couldn't capitalize. On their very first drive, they had a chance to make a statement. SMU was at the Penn State 19-yard line. And instead of playing it safe, they decided to go for it on 4th and 3. Kevin Jennings had an open Matthew Hibner, but the pass was off target, and it fell incomplete. From there, it was all downhill for the Mustangs. SMU had a total of 8 possessions in the first half. 3 of them ended in interceptions, 2 pick-6s. 3 of them resulted in punts, and 2 were turnovers on downs. That's 5 failed drives out of 8. Not exactly the type of stats you need in a playoff game. SMU only crossed 200 yards of total offense in the third quarter and finished with a disappointing 252 yards for the entire game. Penn State's defensive bounce back. What a bounce-back performance from Penn State's defense after getting exposed in the Big Ten Championship by Oregon. In that game, they allowed 466 yards and couldn't get any stops when it mattered most. But here, the defense looked like a completely different unit. SMU couldn't do anything on offense. And despite their best efforts, the Mustangs were never able to recover from those early turnovers. In total, Penn State's defense finished with 3 interceptions, including 2 that were returned for touchdowns. They were relentless, bringing pressure on Kevin Jennings all game long and shutting down anything SMU tried to do offensively. This was a complete defensive performance. And they showed everyone that they were ready to compete at the highest level. What's next for Penn State? With this dominant win, Penn State is set to play number 3 Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl on December 31st. If their defense can play at this level again, they could make for a very tough opponent for Boise. We know that Boise State has one of the best defenses in the nation. But if Penn State's defense continues to dominate, it could be another blowout victory for the Nittany Lions. A heartbreaking end to SMU's dream season. For SMU, it was a heartbreaking finish to what had been a dream season. The Mustangs entered the college football playoff as the only undefeated team in ACC conference play. But their playoff run ended in disaster. They fell short in the ACC championship game to Clemson, and unfortunately, they never found their rhythm against Penn State. The Mustangs had a fantastic season, finishing 11-3. But they will have to regroup and look to come back even stronger next year. After all, SMU was making its first ever appearance in the college football playoff, and they'll surely be hungry for more next season. That's all for our breakdown of Penn State's dominant win over SMU in the first round of the college football playoff. What a performance by the Nittany Lions, 2 Pick-6s. Suffocating defense, and an offensive attack that just kept the pressure on. But what do you think? Can Penn State keep this up against Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with all your friends who love football. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you stay up to date on all our coverage of the college football playoff. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to check out our other videos for more college football breakdowns and fun content. See you in the next one. Hey, football fans, welcome back to the channel. Are you ready to break down the biggest surprises and takeaways from the college football playoff's first round? Well, buckle up because we've got some serious blowouts to talk about. Texas just wrecked Clemson, and honestly, the whole weekend felt like watching a heavyweight fight where one fighter was just too powerful to lose. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest playoff action and more. Share this video with your friends who love football. And let's break down why these games went exactly the way they did. 1. Texas versus Clemson. A pattern that's starting to emerge. Alright, let's talk about the biggest game of the weekend, Texas versus Clemson. Now, Clemson fans, I'm not here to rub it in, but I gotta be real. Texas just dominated this game in a way that's becoming almost too familiar in these college football playoff matchups. And when I say dominated, I mean it was like watching a high school kid face off against a toddler in a tug-of-war competition. Sure, Cade Klubnik tried to make it interesting. I'll give him credit. He's a competitor and kept fighting, even making it a one-score game early in the fourth. But let's be real here. The moment Clemson got to the Texas 5-yard line and faced a critical 3rd and goal, the writing was on the wall. Texas stuffed 3 straight rushes. And that was basically game over. 38-24 Texas advances to the quarterfinals. And I don't think anyone was really shocked. But here's the thing. This game followed a familiar pattern that we saw in the first round of the expanded college football playoff. Think about it. Penn State blew out SMU 38-10. Notre Dame cruised past Indiana 27-17. And Ohio State gave Tennessee a 42-17 beatdown. This is turning into a trend, people, and it's all about winning the line of scrimmage. 2. Why all these blowouts? The secret sauce: offensive and defensive lines. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, wait, these teams look like juggernauts. Why's the competition so one-sided? Let me break it down. It's because of one simple thing: dominant line play. Forget the flashy QB plays, the bomb throws, and the highlight catches. It all starts in the trenches. And in this first round, the teams that dominated up front ran the show. Let's talk about Texas for a second. On offense, they just bullied Clemson's defensive line. Texas ran for 292 yards to 292 yards. Are you kidding me? Jaden Blue had those 2 insane touchdown runs of 77 and 38 yards. Meanwhile, Clemson, 76 rushing yards total. How are you supposed to win when you get pushed around like that? But it's not just about the run game, it's also about the defensive line. Texas's defensive front absolutely lived in Clemson's backfield, pressuring Cade Klubnik on almost every single snap. If you watched the game, you saw Klubnik running for his life and getting sacked left and right. Texas's defensive line showed exactly what happens when you control the game from up front. And it wasn't just Texas. Look at Notre Dame against Indiana. They outrushed the Hoosiers 193-63. Penn State did the same thing to SMU with 185 yards to 58. Even Ohio State, which crushed Tennessee, had the same recipe for success: 4 sacks, consistent pressure, and completely neutralizing Tennessee's offense. 3. The College Football Playoff Committee's dilemma: selecting the right teams. Here's where it gets interesting. The College Football Playoff Committee has a tough job. They're the ones who decide who gets in. And with a 12-team playoff coming soon, you'd think this would be easier. Right? Wrong. In the first round, the committee's picks looked questionable when you see how easily some teams were dominated. Now, I'm not trying to bash on Indiana and SMU, but come on. Clemson had more pedigree than both of them, and they got rolled by Texas. And don't get me started on those 2-3-loss SEC teams. Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. They didn't get into the playoff. But let's be honest, if you put them in against these teams, would they have done better in the trenches? Probably. I mean, Alabama's offensive and defensive lines are typically top tier. Ole Miss has been solid. And South Carolina had a tough schedule but could have matched up physically in these kinds of games. It's a tough pill to swallow for fans of those teams, especially when you see how much line play was a factor in these first-round blowouts. 4. The importance of line play in college football. Here's the deal, in modern football, especially with all the flashy spread offenses and air raid systems, we sometimes forget about the basics, and the basics are line play. At the end of the day, if you can win up front, you're going to win the game. And this first round of the playoff showed us just how important it really is. Let's put it in perspective. You can have the flashiest quarterback or the most talented skill players. But if your O-line can't block and your D-line can't get pressure, you're going to get steamrolled. Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State all showed that. They controlled the trenches. They ran the ball down their opponents' throats. And they didn't give the other teams a chance to establish their rhythm. It's the foundation of any good football team. And with these teams dominating the line of scrimmage, it's no wonder the games felt non-competitive. So, for all the QB hype, maybe it's time we start paying more attention to the big boys up front. So, there you have it, folks. A first round full of blowouts. And the key takeaway is clear. Win the line of scrimmage. And you're in control. It's a lesson that everyone in the playoff needs to learn. Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State, and Ohio State showed us how important the battle in the trenches really is. What do you think about these blowouts? Did the committee make the right picks? And who's your pick to go all the way this year? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, and I'm pretty sure you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Let's keep the conversation going. I'll be back soon with more analysis. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of it. Stick around for more college football goodness. Click here for more breakdowns, predictions, and analysis. Keep the conversation rolling, and I'll catch you next time.